but I had a cancerous lump on my thyroid gland. The reason I was feeling pain was because the cancer was like pushing against my throat. And thankfully, I could feel that. And they said, most people, they don't know. One of my first thoughts was, am I going to get to play? Can I play? Like, am I allowed to play after this? And my second thought was like, God, I just played really well. One, I had the best season of my career, and I gave you glory the whole time, right? Like, I was like, don't I just, like, did I just do something wrong? Do I deserve this?
We're here, episode number 10. We got Kelly in the house.
Hey, hello.
So Kelly is the second half of or not the second half, but the other half of Harbor Waipahu staff. Yeah.
One of two.
One of two. So Kelly's on staff at the church. She kind of keeps everything running smoothly. Everything running. We're a church plant, so smooth is not in our vocabulary.
We're trying.
Yeah.
We've said I am the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Of the church.
And the defensive coordinator.
Oh, yes.
And the special teams coordinator, too. Because you run special teams for our church.
There we go.
Yeah, special teams. That comes up often. So how's it been for you? Just tell us about yourself.
Yeah, I know.
How'd you get here working for the church?
Yeah, we should set the table of our families. Like, our families are pretty connected. Let's see. Our families go back. We met in college, so over a decade ago. And
before we were families.
Yeah. Josh and I were dating at that time. You and Leah weren't, right? I think by the time we met you, we weren't dating.
No, we weren't.
I think we met you first.
Yeah.
And then met Leah. Yeah. But we're all at UH. Mm-hmm. Leah was helping out at UH after she graduated from Stanford, and came friends through FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes. Yep. I played softball at UH.
You didn't just play softball at UH.
I did, but
Kelly
I did really play. Good. I was good. I enjoyed really those days, yes, of playing softball. And then after that, let's see, we started going to Harbor Town when I was at Liho. And then, gosh, our families, so we have 4 kids. I'm pregnant with our 5th. You guys have 5. Our kids are the same exact age and the same gender. That's
wild.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
We're like, what, twin families?
Yeah. They got like twin families. They all kind of similar.
They're all similar. But it's mostly that they're the same age and the same gender.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have girl, boy, girl. You guys just had Shiloh, and we're about to have a baby boy.
Yeah.
So 5 for 5.
Yeah. And so we've been rolling together for that long. Like, we knew each other before we're kind of on the cusp of adulthood. We all knew each other, got married, went through the same doula classes together. Josh, remember that, Josh? Yeah. It was great.
That was fun for our first babies.
Yeah.
I know. And then we really got closer once we started going to community group together. Mm-hmm. Once we both had, we started going once we had Riley. And then I think that's when our friendship, like, as a families, the 2 families, I feel like we've really gotten close, and we're really thankful for you guys. I feel like you guys are our closest friends, and we text. All 4 of us are texting all the time.
I don't know if it's called texting. We send memes to one another.
And Instagram reels. Is that communication now?
That's communication.
I guess that's communication. Yeah. But that's how our families are connected. And then we still lived in town, let's say, maybe 5 years ago, and you guys had been talking about planning a church, and you had wanted that was on your heart. And for us, one of the things on our heart was that we wanted to buy a house. And so Josh and I, as we're trying to start house hunting, we're like, well, we can't really afford anything in town, and we feel called and connected to you guys. If we know that Christian and Lee are going to plant a church, let's buy a house that's close to where they want to plant a church. And so that was 2019-ish, and we're like, we're going to buy a house. We want to buy it on the west side, because we want to be a part of your guys' church plant. We want to be whatever God's calling your family to do in the church, we felt like we should be a part of it. And so we ended up buying a house out on the west side. Yeah. And now we live in Ho'opili.
It's the best.
It is. It is pretty cool out here on the west side, and we enjoy it. But now, and then once we planted a year ago, I came on staff to help you just organize the back end.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, that's what happened. So before we even get to how Kelly got on staff, that's a crazy story in itself. But we're so connected to what's going on at Harbor Church, what's going on in each other's lives. I mean, including Harbor Church. But we are only at Harbor Church because before you guys even got there, because Leah and I came to your game on my birthday. We came to watch your game.
That would have been 2013, my senior year of softball. Mm-hmm. I know, like you guys were dating at that point.
We're dating.
Yeah. And then you guys came to one of my games, sat next to Josh in the stands.
Yeah, we sat next to Josh, got connected with a guy, Steve Knapp, your biggest fan. I will say he is your biggest fan. And Josh is. Shout out to Steve though. But Josh will give you a run for your money, Steve. So Leah gave him a Sprite, and that caused us to have a conversation, and he ended up connecting me with Matt. And so we got to Harbor before you, but it's because of you guys. And then while you guys were at Harbor, in my mind, I was thinking, if I knew just after a year in mission, if people don't get connected to a community group, they'll probably leave. Mm-hmm. And so I went down to the nursery, and I think I saw you and Mari were working, and I was like, you guys should come to community group. We bring our kids. we bring Kaoli. And so you guys ended up bringing Riley that day.
Yeah. I know, it was like that week we ended up going. I know we'd been going to Harbor for maybe a few months, but we hadn't stepped into anything to get connected. You know, I think we needed the push to go to a community group. I think that's something Josh and I we're pretty comfortable. We like our comfort. And so we were just fine, you know, floating, going to church on Sundays. And so once you guys invited us and we knew we could bring Riley, who was only maybe a year, if younger, they were probably younger. I think the girls were younger. And so, once we went, you can definitely feel the difference in church when you're not just coming on Sundays, that you know people that you're worshiping with, know people and know their stories and in community with, bringing them dinners when they have a baby and all that. You feel the love of Christ way different once you're connected. Yeah,
for sure. I think that's what people miss out on. Just get connected, get plugged in. You might not feel comfortable, but I think if you get plugged in, you'll either find out really quickly that you got to go to a different church, or you'll find out most people do. You know what? These people are not that bad. A little strange, a little weird, but they're not that bad.
Right. You learn that people are messy. Yeah. But also it's so much easier to go through life when you have people that you can just rely on or that you're constantly seeing. And that's what you guys have been for us, and just being in community. I mean, we ended up starting a community group together. After we went to that initial one, we started one, which ended up becoming a church.
Yeah.
I know.
And what was funny is we started one week, you guys, we had dinner, hey, we're thinking of launching this group. This is the funniest thing. And then 1 week later, I'm like, hey, you guys, let's go to Chili's. We invite you guys. And we're like, we can't do this. We're shutting it down. But we ended up pushing through.
It was 1.5 weeks after.
Yeah. We started pushing through. And so, I mean, that was, it's always been good just kind of walking with you guys through early parenthood and figuring it out. And then now we're in sports season, and we got young kids. I thought by now though we'd be out of diapers, but we're not.
No,
we're still thoroughly entrenched in diaper mode. But the other thing is, it's just been cool, walking together and seeing how God's working in you guys' life and how much of an encouragement you guys been to us. It's been a huge blessing, and it's cool to plant a church with your friends.
Yeah, it really is. And I think we obviously wanted to be a part of what you guys are doing because we felt God calling us to it. We felt like it was what we were supposed to do. Our family, both of us are from California. We haven't lived in California for since we started college, so it's been a long time. But still, we don't have as much connection as you do growing up here. But we feel like God was calling us to be a part of whatever you guys were doing in the church. And thankfully, we've had kids, that they're going to grow up together and feel that same connection with each other because of us and you guys just being good friends.
I want to talk about how you guys got back. Like you said, you lived in California. So what brought you to Hawaii, University of Hawaii?
Yeah, so we, Josh and I, we didn't grow up together. We grew up in similar places. I grew up in a tiny little town called Pine Valley, California. You can Google it. I don't know if you can even zoom in on the town. It's so small. It's very small. Yeah, it's really small. I'd say 2,000 people live in the town. There's no stoplights. It's a very small little place in San Diego County. And then Josh grew up like 45 minutes on a windy road from my house. So it's like up and down through the mountains. But we went to the same high school. So that's where we met.
So how far did you guys have to drive to high school?
I lived 10 minutes from the high school. Josh lived like half an hour from high school. On a bus. He'd ride the bus in the morning and go like, if you could picture like 2-lane road, and he's on a school bus, like up and down the mountain.
Oh my goodness.
I know, you guys should come visit. One time we'll all, when we can afford a vacation. When our two families can afford vacations, we'll all go to California and we'll show you.
I have the time. I have neither the time nor the energy nor the resources
Ditto.
to go vacation.
We know.
Church plant, but if you guys support us, maybe we can go on a vacation one day.
We're all in diapers. I don't know. We're going to both be families of 7. Yeah. We'll see when we go on a vacation. Yeah. Our kids will be into high school. But yeah, so we went to the same high school together. I came out to Hawaii because I played softball. So I grew up playing softball with my sisters, and we started playing when we were 5. My parents both played. My dad played baseball at San Diego State. And
really?
Yeah, and then played a little bit of professional, like minor league kind of stuff after. So he was pretty good.
He's so unassuming.
He is. He's very unassuming. Yeah, that's my dad. And then my mom just played in high school and was around the game. And so they wanted their kids to play. And so all 4 of us, me and my 3 sisters, all played softball. We all ended up playing Division I softball too.
Dude, you guys are bad.
Yeah, it took a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of driving.
4 kids, D1.
It's crazy. And we all went to different colleges in different time zones. At one time, we were all 4 playing, or we had all 4 played in different time zones. We were all over the country. Pretty cool.
Wow.
Pretty cool. But yeah, so then I got recruited to come out here. And so that's why.
Was it culture shock for you? Because you're Filipino,
yes,
right?
I'm Filipino.
And so there's a lot of Filipinos here.
Yes.
But was it culture shock still?
Yes. Very different. Where I grew up, like my high school, there was my family and one other family that was Filipino. Those are like the only Asians I knew other than people related to me. And so everyone thought I was Mexican because we grew up,
of course,
like half an hour from the border. Mm-hmm. And so coming out here, it was a shock that I'm like, people look like me. This is so
but they don't act like me.
I'm like a mainland Filipino. It's interesting. But yeah, no, it's a big culture shock. And then even being on the softball team of people that looked like me, that were, Pacific Islander and Asian, and, it's pretty cool. But it was different. Definitely. Yeah. Even now that I'm lived here for 15 years, I'm still getting used to being in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. I feel like I'm here, and I've obviously settled and have roots and
right.
a part of the community and things.
So your career starts off at UH, not that great.
Yeah,
just kind of average. You're just an average player, warming the bench. Like, how did it work? How did you deal with that, Kelly? Kelly.
What do I say? Last community group, I was like talking about being a bench warmer. Josh, like, you've never been a bench warmer.
Kelly, so let me just tell us about your story, why this is funny. But Kelly is going in community group, sharing about, we share about things that we're going through. And then Kelly's like, it's like when you're not playing and you're like riding the bench, you're the bench warmer, and you got to deal with, play your role.
Knowing your role.
And I'm like, wait a minute. We're all bench. Kelly, you were not a bench warmer. So you weren't a bench warmer. Tell us how your first year went.
Well, so what happened was my actual first freshman year, I tore my ACL. Mm-hmm. So I redshirted that whole first year of college, which was extremely tough. And then my redshirt freshman year, I really wanted to dedicate my playing abilities and my time and energy to the Lord, and sitting out a whole season really made me want to commit that, And so we ended up being really good. So that was 2010, and our team broke the NCAA college home run record. And then I led the nation in home runs that year.
That's crazy.
It is like thinking back now that I'm like an old lady in my 30s that could not do that. I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of weird that I was this 20-year-old that was really good. I was really good. That's kind of cool.
Hitting home runs.
I know, but I'm like, how did I even do that? Thinking about it, I'm like, what? That's crazy. But yeah, I led the nation in home runs that year. And so we were really good. Our team went to the World Series in Oklahoma City that year. That was the best team in UH softball history. Wow. Hopefully, thus far hopefully they get even better and they play even better than what we played.
I thought you were pulling like a Eric Dickerson. Like, I hope no one ever breaks
no
my
one ever
record.
Breaks my record. Hopefully it's cemented forever.
Yeah.
No.
What was it? So before we even just continue on the story, what was it that made you want to dedicate your first playing year to the Lord? Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah. Growing up, like I said, we had played softball every weekend. I mean, I played year round every weekend, and I felt like softball had obviously become a huge part of my identity. If not my identity, I would have at that point in my life said, hi, I'm Kelly and I play softball. That was, yeah. That's who I was. And once I couldn't play, tore my ACL and my meniscus. I had to sit out for 9 months, ended up having another knee surgery to repair my meniscus in there. And so once softball was taken off the picture, I was like, who am I? And what am I doing? Who is Kelly? And I think throughout that freshman year and being away from home, I was really homesick. Didn't have my family to fall back on either. It's like, who is Kelly? And I think Jesus really proved himself in that year that I'm not the things that I do. My identity's not tied to my output, my production, my softball abilities, me as a mom now, like my production into the world is not who I am. Mm-hmm. I am a daughter of the King, first and foremost, and God gave me the abilities and the gifts to glorify him. And my softball ability at that time in college was a huge and tremendous gift. I mean, I ended up having a good platform to speak the gospel on, because people, once I played really well, people are like, wow, you're so small. How do you do it? And why are you always so happy? And, all these things, they kept asking me these kind of questions. And I'm able to just share my faith. And then, yeah, it blossomed from there.
Mm-hmm. So that first year, you guys went pretty far. Mm-hmm. And, yeah. And then you talk about, just giving glory to God, right?
Yeah.
And then, but one of the most difficult things I think for athletes isn't just because output matters so much, right? When you're performing well, you got a lot of people giving you the respect and the love that you feel like you deserve because you did put in work. But then when you get injured, sometimes that your teammates don't even talk to you. Right? You're not at meetings, and your coach could care less about what you It's almost
I missed the half of practice. I was rehabbing, which is the worst. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I started off college wanting to do physical therapy and then be a physical therapist. And then I tore my ACL and had to do physical therapy. I don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Oh, yeah. This is the worst. But yeah, your identity that you thought you had is stripped away. And even now, right? Our sports didn't last. Our thing that we were so invested in, it didn't last. And if that's what our identity is, you're going to be obviously lost. And a lot of athletes go through that after they're done playing. It's I don't know who I am anymore because you're so tied to your sport.
Mm-hmm. So what is, you have a lot of success that first year. Mm-hmm. What happens after that? What's the next year?
Yeah, that's 2010 probably is one of the biggest years of my life. I think it will be probably the biggest year of my life. So
wait, not the year that you got married.
I love you, Josh. But well, we started dating in 2010.
Oh, yeah,
so
okay.
There we go. That was part of it. We started dating in 2010. So our team was really good. We went to the World Series, like played on ESPN, all that great stuff. I broke records. I got invited to go to the ESPYs that summer. So I went to the ESPYs, which is, if people don't know what the ESPYs, it's like the Grammys for athletes, kind of.
Yeah.
It's in Hollywood. We got put up in a hotel. Me and my sisters, my mom, we got put up in a hotel. It was like 3 days. I got like VIP tickets to these different parties. We sat like next to Mindy Kaling.
Really?
Yeah. At the ESPYs, it's like me on the outside row, my sister, and then Mindy Kaling and her friend.
I didn't know that. Okay, whoa. I thought so when you talked about the SCBs before, but I always thought that was like something you went with other teammates, not with your
Well, our other teammate. So we had our coach and his wife went, and one of my teammates and her. I think she brought her dad or somebody. So we each could bring a +1 to the ESPYs, and the reason was because our team got nominated for an ESPY that year for biggest upset. Something we got nominated. We didn't win. But if we had, we would have gone on stage.
That's
I don't know.
crazy.
I guess we would have had to gone on stage, but we didn't win. So we just sat there and enjoyed the show. But we went to the ESPYs that summer. And then I had already been feeling pain in my throat throughout this season. At the very end of the season, I had started feeling pain in my throat. And it was mostly when I was swallowing water or taking deep breaths. I just felt something. So I told my trainer, and he told my parents once we were on the road and my parents were there. They're like, okay, we'll take care of it in the summer. And so then I went to the doctor. They were like, yeah, that's kind of strange. Got a biopsy. So they like took a piece out of something in my throat. And a couple days later, we get a call that says, can you come back down to the hospital? And so we can discuss the results with our doctor. And so once I got that phone call, I was like, ooh, they didn't just tell me on the phone, like what was going on. They want us to go back in. And so I was like, this is probably not that great. So then we go down, me and my mom, and I think one of my sisters was with us, and the doctor's sitting there, and he says, Kelly, you have cancer. And it would end up being thyroid cancer. So your thyroid is a little gland that's right at the base of your throat, and it does multiple things like your metabolism and helps your energy, all sorts of things, mostly like hormone stuff. But I had a cancerous lump on my thyroid gland. And so what that meant was the reason I was feeling pain was because the cancer was like pushing against my throat. And thankfully, I could feel that. And they said most people, they don't know. So the cancer's growing and they don't know. And so I, thankfully, by the grace of God, felt pain. And so then we got it checked out. And I ended up having to have surgery to remove my thyroid gland and the cancer like a couple of days after that. And this was all in the summer between my redshirt freshman year of college and my redshirt sophomore year of college, all in that summer. It was wild. Yeah.
So that's like the highest of highs, and then you just feel like some of the lowest.
Yeah, it was really confusing times. And I remember thinking, one of my first thoughts was, and I asked the doctor, like, am I going to get to play? Can I play? Like, am I allowed to play after this? And they were like, yes. I mean, as long as you're feeling great. And later on, I had to do radiation therapy and things like that. But they're like, you can play if you can. And then my second thought was like, God, I just played really well. I had the best season of my career, and I gave you glory the whole time, right? Like I was like, don't I just like, did I just do something wrong? Do I deserve this? Or did I mess up or, like all those thoughts are going through my head. Like I deserve better. And I think that's pretty valid of a thought, right? Like when something bad happens, I feel like that's kind of the first thing that we all think is like, what did we do wrong? Do I deserve this? Like, what's going on? But throughout that, obviously it was really tough. But something that I learned is how God can use terrible things in our life to glorify himself, right? It wasn't about me. It was about glorifying himself. And I got to, once school started again in the fall, came back, I held a press conference, Christian. I had my own press conference.
Did you hold a press conference?
I held a press conference.
So that's a dream. You're living the dream.
The SID, or like the media person for the softball team.
Hold on, Kelly, can I tell you a story? Can I just interject? Because you talked about the press conference. My senior year, just this is how other people feel. My senior year, this is so funny. We play a game, and it's a championship game, my last game. And I always had bad shoulders in high school. I had surgery while I was in high school. But that game, I think I had like 15 tackles. Like I played pretty good. We won on an interception at the end. Like it was a great game. And I'm thinking to myself, like, that was a good way to end senior year, And Rob DeMello is walking towards me. I've never been interviewed in my life. He's walking towards me like he's booking. I see him. I'm like, yo, he is walking right towards me. And I'm like, I did have 15 tackles. I fell into 10 of them.
Is it me?
He's walking. I look and he's right close to me. And he taps me on the shoulder. He goes, "You're Christian Ciania." I said, "Yes, I am." He goes, "Your math teacher is my wife." And she's sitting right there. Oh, okay, I got to go talk to Kelly. So he like pushes me out of the way, goes to our corner. I'm like, no. Oh. That was the closest thing I ever had to a press conference. Anyways.
Well, Rob was at my press conference.
Wow. Take that, Rob.
I didn't call the press conference. We'll say that the media person at UH
But you had a press conference.
I had a press conference for just me, myself.
Yeah.
And so it was cameras and
newspaper. Was the news, did everybody know by then that you had cancer?
Our media person for our team, the SID, had written up a note sheet, passed it out. And so they all kind of knew prior that this is why. And so then I kind of gave my opening statement. This is like what I'm doing. And this is what happened over the summer. And they kind of had a timeline on their paper so that they could make sure they had accurate information when they put it in the newspaper or whatever. And, but at the press conference, I get to sit there and say, like, I know the Lord is good. I know that God is in control. This is not what I had planned. But I know that God is with us through the muck and with us in the bad. And the next day in the newspaper, I was on the front page of the sports section, and it's this big picture of me. And the title or the headline says, "God knows I can do this." I don't know if I ever said those words, but it says, "God knows I can do this." And it's in big, bold font on the front of the sports section of the Star Advertiser. And in that moment, I was like, gosh, I'm complaining about all these things and worrying, like, did I deserve this? And now all these people are going to see me and see this headline, and I get to be a part of what God is doing in sports in Hawaii. He's using me to bring his name into a place that God's name's not on the sports section of the newspaper. Mm-hmm. And I get to be a part of that story. And that shifted the rest of my life. It really did. Man.
Yeah, that is so crazy how you want to glorify God, and I imagine it's so much easier initially to do it when you're doing great. You're from that first year.
Yeah.
But to have the opportunity to do it in suffering that's heavier. nothing I would wish on someone.
Right.
But something that does show the value of who God is, that he's worth more than anything else, right?
Right, right. And I think maybe just me being a good softball player, I would have had opportunities to share the gospel. But because everyone knew of my suffering and knew of my hardship, it was a lot more people. Churches, youth groups wanted me to come speak and give my testimony. I got to come. Yeah, I would go to different youth groups or FCAs, and people wanted me to share to young people. And I don't think I would have necessarily got that opportunity if it wasn't for all of that suffering.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely. I mean, I remember following up a youth group, and I spoke, and the guy was like, "That was good. But last year, man, it was so awesome. We had Kelly Majum speak," and I was like, "Come on, man,
you're great.
I just finished.
You're the speaker. You're the speaker. I was like, no. You're the pastor."
Oh man, but I was in that phase where I wanted to take everybody to take the Bible seriously. Right. So I'm like, here's what we're gonna do for these kids.
I'll teach them.
We're gonna just have a 45-minute Bible lesson. That's what we're gonna do. Yeah. And just because this is a youth group, I'm gonna make sure that you guys have zero fun while we're doing it. I had to follow up you 1 year. 1 year later, and I was still feeling the effects.
It's all right. You're fine, Christian.
Oh man, that's awesome. Yeah. How did that change the rest of your softball career?
Changed a lot. I mean, I wasn't healthy. I wasn't as healthy. And I still played. I still went through all the rest of my seasons. And but I'd say I wasn't as good as that first year, and that's okay. I did what I could, and I was still decent and good, and But what did change was the relationship that I had with the Lord first. I felt like obviously that I was much closer to the Lord and had a very different perspective on my faith, but also gave me, like I said, opportunities to share the gospel that I wouldn't have before. And growing up, I was really shy. I'd still say I'm like reserved. I'm a reserved person. I'm not like, on the scale. On the scale I'm probably, you're on one nice excitement. I fell off the cliff. you're on the excitement end of the spectrum. I'm somewhere in the middle towards the reserved end. And so, but I would never have dreamt that I would have to speak in front of people. That was not something I would have wanted to do in high school and for sure before that. And then once I got to college and people asked me to do it all the time, I'm like, oh, wow, this is something I enjoy. Something I like sharing my testimony. I like sharing my faith in front of people. And so I got a lot of that opportunity throughout my college career and beyond. Yeah. Yeah.
One of the interesting things, just, and we kind of talk about it a lot. Everybody has their own struggles. Mm-hmm. Every different people, different struggles. But athletes have a particularly difficult struggle in that, like I said, it's performance based, right? It's like, what can you do for me? And if you produce, then it's easy to see, like, if you're producing, you're successful. If you're not producing, you're not successful. But what do you say to those athletes who their identity is their athletics? Their identity is like they not only their identity because they just wanted to be. It's their identity because they put so much time and effort into this thing. But one of the things I've noticed just being an athlete and seeing athletes on the other side of their career, right, is how kind of sad it is when you lose the ability to play or you lose the opportunity to play. That's the worst. Mm-hmm. Losing the ability, I've seen people deal with that, but the opportunity to play, you still feel like you can, and you're not able to do that anymore. You have to kind of pivot. Yeah. What would you say to those athletes or athletes that are kind of on the other end, or just kind of maybe their senior year, seeing the tail end of the career kind of in front of them?
I think it's valid to feel like I'm mourning a piece of your life that's going to be done, right? Like because we are so dedicated, like athletes are just wired that way, that you want to be dedicated to something and you want to get better and better. And then to not have that motivation anymore, I think it's okay to mourn that loss in your life. But what we have obviously known, and especially now that we're a decade out of playing, is that those joys are not nearly as fulfilling. The highs that you've gotten from your playing career, or the joys that you want to see in the future of your playing career, they just aren't as fulfilling as Christ is. And they're not as fulfilling and long-lasting in what the gospel is. And I see that now as in ministry too. Like we have an effect on people's longevity in the gospel, or their longevity in their faith, and the work that we're putting in to be a part of what God is doing in people's lives is incredible. And that's going to last way longer than strikeouts and home runs and, records and things like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm really thankful for that. But as athletes, I love meeting athletes, and I think you do too. Like, we love having athletes at church or just having athletes as friends. And I think it's because we all have this understanding of how hard it is to work towards something, and how much time and effort we've put into something. And I don't think that God wastes that passion. I don't think God wastes that motivation that he gave us as young kids to want to do that. And I think those same desires that we had and that same passion that we used towards a sport can be used in other things. And for me, after I was done playing, I became a wife pretty quickly after that. We got married, a month after I graduated high school, or graduated college.
And Josh was still playing.
And Josh had a year to go.
Yeah.
And so,
he was pitching.
Yeah. And so, I quickly shifted that passion and motivation that God had given me for a sport into something else that also probably has longer, ramifications, my marriage, and which ended up being my family and things like that. And so, I think God can use sport in a really big way. Mm-hmm. And sport's really still a big part of my life. I mean, it's not like, it's just because I'm not playing doesn't mean it's not a big part of my life. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's cool being on the other side, seeing the importance of the gospel. We can help our kids to train, play, enjoy without making it an idol, without making it all of who you are.
Yeah. And that's tricky, right? Because it's so easy to do that. It's so easy. And you're right. As parents, it's, we're obviously navigating that because we're at the beginning age. Our kids are just starting sports. And so it's something that I'm still trying to figure out too, like not make this do or die, that, not make it so big, but also not so small. Like, I want you to do your best, but I also, I don't want you to go out there and waste time, but I also don't want it to be everything for you. Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult as a parent.
Yeah, it's like when my kids feel like it's not everything, I'm like, yeah, but you got to put in hard work. And then when they're taking it too serious, I'm like, bro, just chill, relax. It's just a sport. I'm like, I don't even know the balance.
I don't know. And maybe it's kid by kid. Yeah. I mean, all of our kids are so different from each other. Like, you got to just figure that out. And maybe that's parenting. We're just figuring it out.
Yeah, we're just figuring it out. Oh, that's one of the things I learned as a parent is all those books that I read beforehand, they're just guessing.
Yeah.
They're taking stabs in the dark. They all say something different. And I'm like, I'm just going to take the general principles, raise them in the church, disciple them, teach them God's word, and love them, and enjoy the season. And then everything else after that, the particulars, we're all trying stuff. We hit the Elms up, like, hey, what are you guys doing with this? Or we're doing this with our kids. What are you guys doing?
Yeah, we'll figure it. I don't know. I think that's all parenting is.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. It's funny being a parent now. It's like, the feeling I get from some parents, like winning the Super Bowl in 20 years starts today. I'm like, but I see some of the kids, I'm like, they're so far ahead.
No, really though. Really though. It's like, why do I feel like my 6-year-old is behind?
Yeah, I'm like, dude,
no.
He's only 6. He's only 6, but he can't karaoke.
He's not going to make it to college because he's 6 years old and behind.
He can't track a ball down. What's going on? You feel that the way you're sitting there like, Lord, this is idolatry. I'm trying not to idol.
I know it is.
Oh, man, that's so funny. Man, yeah, parenting has just been that's another, and I think that you're right. Shift your focus, like know that this is a season. Give it your all in this season. But when God calls you out of that season to something else, it's just as valuable, just as meaningful, but give it just as much God-driven effort,
Yeah, and I think that's what being a young parent, especially a young mom, has been really difficult, just trying to navigate that. And this year, this is the first year I'm staying home. I mean, I'm working for the church, but I'm doing it from home. And so making that change to like full-time motherhood has been really difficult, and wanting to be able to harness that motivation towards my kids. Yeah, it's difficult.
So what was that like? What was the transition? So one of the reasons that you're on staff is I went through a lot of assessments as just pastoral assessments and things like that. And one of the things I just wasn't good at is like administrative stuff. I'm just not organized. I need to be more organized. I need to be better. But one of the great things was just in prayer, it seemed like in a lot of those areas you were really gifted, and so we were able just to bring you on staff. And that was probably one of the best decisions that we made as a church, is to have you on staff.
Well, thank you.
Oh yeah, you're welcome. we really believe that, and like I wouldn't be nearly as effective just in doing what I'm doing if you weren't on staff, and you really keep everything going. It's been a gift to have you at the church. But what has been been like just the first year, where we're coming up on a year, navigating that new rhythm and working somewhere else and then working for the church? What was that shift like?
Yeah, so I was a elementary PE teacher for 9 years, and when you asked me if I wanted to be on staff,
you said no.
I said no.
Like immediately, you're like no.
Well, one, because change scares me. That would have been a huge change.
You know what's funny? You said no, walked out, and then Josh was like, change is hard. I was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do?
He's like, just give her some time. Let it soak in a little.
Yeah, but that was a long time. It was months.
It really was.
We were getting close to planting.
But it was like, I was at maybe the beginning of the school year. You had asked me like, what do you think about this? And then took me till maybe like February of the school year to say like, okay, I'm going to leave my job and leave my income. And
I'm sorry.
And well, it's all right. I forgive you. And then come home. And for me, there was, I've always had that hope that I would get to be home with my kids. And this was God's answer, and it was a great answer. But I loved my job. And that was part of it, was that I loved teaching and I loved the school that I was at. But also,
I mean, you were almost teacher of the year, or you were teacher of the year?
I was district teacher of the year.
District teacher of the year. Yeah. You see that, guys?
I know. I was a step away from state teacher of the year.
Oh,
that was like 2020.
Oh, praise God. If you won state teacher of the year, Kelly, we wouldn't have been able to hire you.
No, it's still same thing. Same thing. I could have left. But no, it's like that was part of it. But biggest thing was like, I'm scared of change. Like what happens if I do this and we can't afford it, or I don't like it, or change is scary to me. And so but with Josh and you guys, and obviously the Lord, like it was the right thing to do. And I'm not a person that's like, say yes and figure out details later. That's not me. And that's ended up being what it was.
Welcome to church planting.
Yeah.
That's the best way to describe it. Say yes and figure it out later.
How many times have we done that? I can think about maybe 3 this week.
Yeah. Yes, we'll figure it out later. Youth group, yes, we'll figure it out later.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's this whole year of being on staff and us working together has been such a good stretch. Like something that I'm not good at is being flexible or like I said, like details. I need to know them before I'd say yes. And God's like, no, you don't. You don't have to. Why can't you just trust me?
Does his voice sound like God? You're like, what's the details like? We don't need details.
Is that the Lord or is that Christian? I don't know. But either way, like I think this whole year has been a year of trusting and a year of accepting that I'm not in control. Yeah. And that's been really good for me. Someone that likes control or just likes to know what's coming. Yeah. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. It feels like we're walking by faith in a good way, you know?
Yeah. And I would say we've really seen God work, like especially our building. I would say that's obviously the biggest one. Was we were kind of like, we've only been to church for 4 months. We're going to say yes to this big project and renovation and money that, and so we really had to trust the Lord and we said yes and we'll figure it out. We're still figuring it out.
We're figuring it out, guys. Yeah. One of the things when I came on staff way years ago, was that Sunday morning change for me. And I had to adjust to like still worshiping and being engaged with worship when Sunday morning's happening. Cause now you're involved your hand is in everything and your hand is in, you don't just get to show up and serve in your one ministry that you got all this other stuff on your mind and when things go wrong in the service. How's your Sunday mornings for you changed?
Yeah, you warned me of that. Like you told me, it's going to feel more like work, but you got to make it feel like worship still. And that's exactly what I've experienced this whole year is I got to make sure everything's running. Like I got to be like juggling everything. But I still want to feel like I'm at church, like everybody else that we're worshiping together. And it's been a balance, like trying to figure out that balance. And I enjoy like getting things done. And so Sunday mornings, making sure everything's running is enjoyable for me. I enjoy that part. But I also enjoy when I get to sit and listen to you preach or worship with Leah, like get to just be in service and be there as a worshiper of Jesus. But yeah, it's just been a balance. Yeah. And I've enjoyed it.
I think that's another thing. If for some reason someday I wasn't on staff at a church, I still think like church is so valuable because I see the value in just being able to go and just being able to sit and be through a whole service and just worship. Yeah. And I think that's something that, we're in the church plant mode, but we probably have to do a better job of like, you and I being on staff, anybody that's serving, Josh or Lee, all the people that are serving regularly in the church all the time have Sundays, where they're just sitting, where we're just sitting and we're just engaged in worship and we're just responding to what's being preached and we're just responding in song, like receiving on a Sunday. And it's not just receiving though, because I do feel like when people are engaged and they're also giving so much by being engaged.
Right. Yeah, I think it is balanced. And it's the season that we're in. We know that we're just hustling. Yes. And we're just hustling. And we're figuring it out every Sunday.
Every day I'm hustling. That's how I feel.
Yeah. And
that's how this Sunday felt.
Oh, this past Sunday, yeah.
That was a wild Sunday.
We're like, we're going to let the timer run out today and we'll be a little late. That's okay.
Yeah, we're a little late.
But still, I think like for you guys too, it changed. You were already on staff in town, but now you're like on stage every week and you're running the show and you're going to have to prep every week. And so for you guys too, your tempo changed and Leah leading worship every week too. Like the tempo that you were serving at like heightened a lot. And so I'm sure you felt that same way of like, gosh, I got to figure out a way to still feel like I'm worshiping the Lord.
Yeah. It's a different season for sure. It feels like a different season. Sunday does feel like not hectic, but there's more on my mind. Some more on my mind now because we're a church plant. Like,
yeah.
We're still in the stage where like I hope people show up and can serve. Like you're just like
you're here. Yeah. You showed up again.
Like, I hope people don't just sit in the edges and they sit in the middle because otherwise you're gonna walk in and feel empty. I hope people find parking, right? Like so we're thinking of all these things, but one of the things that's helped us the most is being grounded in our community group. Like we still feel grounded because we still are there with everybody else and we're still just apart. And I think that's where Leah and I feel the most at home. Well, in the church, yeah, on a Sunday, but in our community group, we're just ourselves and we're still rolling with that same rhythm that we had before we planted. And so I think that having that involvement in your church where you're not just separate, I think that helped us to we never feel isolated. We never feel alone, in this church plant. And
that's a really good point. And I hadn't thought about that, we still feel like we're making friendships with the people that we're worshiping with or serving, that we're serving on a Sunday. We still feel like we can connect with people and enjoy dinner together and things. But I think that working for a church is different, but just serving constantly for a church, it really changes your family life. And I think that's something I'm thankful for, is just how much Josh, my husband, has changed. And not changed,
he has changed. Well, who knew? We didn't know. Josh went through a metamorphosis of sorts. Josh was our security guy in town.
Yeah, that's all he did was security.
We're like, he's the tallest guy here. He looks scary. Let's have Josh
intimidating. Let's have him
be security and stand outside.
Which he enjoyed.
Yeah.
He was fine with. But what has, for me as a wife, I've been extremely thankful to be thrown into a place where he feels like he has ownership over things to do. Like he's doing as much as he can. He figured out sound.
Yeah, figured it out.
I don't know how. And he tells me things and I'm like, cool. I don't know what that means, but great. Do it on Sunday. And he knows, he's figured a lot of stuff out. And as a wife, I'm so thankful to see my husband be willing to serve the Lord in such different capacities. And I think that only happened because of the church plant. I don't think he would have felt, he always feels like, I'm going to step on somebody's toes. Somebody else knows better than I do. And I feel that a lot too. It's like somebody else could figure that out better than I could. But because it was a church plant and we had no one else.
We had no toes to step on.
There were no toes. You had to create
wherever you want, bro.
Yeah. Create the path yourself, please.
Yeah.
And so he has done a phenomenal job of just going and serving and doing.
Yeah, I've been blown away just in all the stuff that he's involved in, just leadership, praying, the wisdom that he has. Just because I wasn't involved with Josh at this capacity at Harbor Town, that's why. And then, so not only that, but also just his willingness to like take up sound and not only take it up and just do it, but kill it, like learn it, master it, all of those things, like have a vision for what next steps we're going to take, when we have to take them. And just, that's been unreal. It's been so cool to see. And I guess that's also an example of, for churches, you never know what giftings people have or what things that they can do. And to other people, you never know what giftings God's given you. You never know what abilities he's given you,
Yeah, even as his wife, I didn't know he was going to be able to figure all this out and that he had a good ear for sound and like he could understand the tech side of it all. Like I had no idea.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we've been married 10 years and one of the things that I've enjoyed being his wife is learning. He's very talented in a lot of things. And I tell him this I tell him this all the time. So it's not like I'm talking behind his back. He's like a big boulder. Okay. And he's stuck in the sand. He's stuck.
Okay, hold on.
And then,
have you thought about this or are we going to keep going? Okay.
No, we're going to keep going. Okay. He's stuck like a big boulder full of lots of potential that like, if we can just get him rolling, we just got to get him rolling. He's going to do so much stuff. Like you just got to be able to push him off the cliff and get him going down the hill. And there's a lot of people like that are like, somebody else could do better. Or like, I like it up here at the top of this, or I like it where I'm at, stuck, like comfortable. I'm comfortable right here. And once Josh gets nudged, and you're really good at this, nudging him in the right direction or like just making him do something, he's so capable of a lot of things. And like you get him rolling and he's awesome.
Yeah.
And he's so good at great things. And so as his wife, like I'm constantly trying to see what I can like help him see his potential in. And there's a lot of people like that who like could serve in church and they don't want to step on somebody's toes, or they're like, I'm not really sure. I've never done that before. Like, I don't think I would be good at it. But you just got to get like pushed in the right direction. And then you get rolling. You're like, I love this. This is exactly what God called me to do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy because we couldn't do what we're doing without him. Like a lot of our, like worship where it's at and him and Leah's partnership together.
Yeah.
It's unreal how well they work together and how much they're on the same page and like just serving with each other. That like it's almost like they got this when you watch them work at rehearsal and then on Sunday, like they're so in sync. Like
they know
so,
what they
like,
want. Yeah,
what
they definitely do.
It's pretty crazy.
I know, and I think that's one of the reasons worship is so good. We have great worship at this teeny tiny little church is because of Leah and Josh, like working really hard throughout the week and the Lord blessing them with talent.
Yeah, they work. So it's crazy because we're on staff.
Yeah.
But in some ways I feel like
are they outworking us, Christian?
They're not outworking us. Maybe. But it's almost like the thing you don't account for when it comes to being on staff is your family's in this as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so they serve probably just as much, you know, as we do. They're just along, they're with us, you know, and all of it. And and I think God's just blessed us. You know, we got just our families are just so invested in the church. And there's other families invested, but just for our conversations. The other thing I wanted to ask you is what has been like raising your kids in the church, right? Because that was one thing. That's one thing. But now they're at the church all the time, even when they might not want to be there, right? They're just there. What has that been like for you guys?
Yeah, I think that's something we're navigating too. I'm sure you guys are as well, as that our kids, it's like a second place that they're always at. Like, okay, we gotta go to the meeting with Uncle Christian at the church. Okay, we gotta go clean the church. Okay, we gotta be there early so that we can practice and worship. Daddy's got worship rehearsal. So we're always there. And they feel very comfortable. And our kids, I think our two families is enough kids, but they feel like they run the church or run it all over the place. And they're like, they definitely feel ownership over the space.
But it's just second home for them though.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what you got to navigate of. It's wonderful that they feel at home at church. And a lot of our conversation at home revolves around church. But you also don't want it to become a burden to them that, gosh, we got to go there again. And, oh, we got to sit still again. And, you know, and I think we're both in the thick of that, of how to navigate our kids' faith while they're constantly at church.
Yeah, I never wanted like Leah and I always talked about it too when we had kids. We never wanted the church to feel like a barrier between time with me, time with dad, mom, and then they would spend time with me, but they're spending time with the church.
Right.
And so navigating, I feel like, I think it's a grace of God that it's on our minds. Okay, we don't want to do that. I don't want to.
Right, that's true.
Even though if you work for a church, one of the qualifications, just even as a leader in the church or anything like that, is one of the ways that you live out your faith is by loving your family.
Yeah.
Right. And you don't you love the church, but you can't love the church at the expense of family. And then when you're working for church, though, it's just like, and this because it applies for everybody that's serving. And sometimes I wonder if should I say this? We're a church plant. We do need people serving, but no, we have to stand on this. We have to say it.
Yeah.
Don't serve the church at the expense of your family.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if it's too hard for you to get on a Sunday to get to church and do all these other things, then you coming is enough, Then push yourself, stretch yourself. Like God can provide all the energy you need. At the same time, really want to emphasize loving your family and not dragging them, dragging them through this serving the church thing.
Yeah.
And
you're right. Like sometimes our kids are like the after effect of us trying to be so helpful to the gospel. They just get like stuck behind us and they're just waiting for mommy and daddy to turn around and look at them. But we're so focused on everybody else, all the adults or all the tasks we have to do, that we're not looking at their hearts and looking at how they're growing towards the gospel.
Yeah. I appreciated this when I was at Harbor West, just when they first started. They had kind of similar stages, a lot of kids. There was a church plant with a lot of children. And one of the things Justin used to say, I don't think we say it enough, but he's like, to us, kids are not a distraction. I don't know if he was doing that because they didn't have a kids ministry. I was like, that's a good strategy.
There's no choice.
But at the same time, that seeps into the culture of the church. Mm-hmm. Kids are not a distraction. Like if, should you discipline your kids? Yes. But at the same time, are kids going to run around and are they going to be loud and they're going to throw fits sometimes and do all kinds of things that adults wouldn't do? I hope adults wouldn't do, but adults do those things
sometimes.
But they're not a distraction to us. They're not a distraction to worship. They're not taking us away from worship. They're a part of worship, and they're the young people in our community, right?
Yeah.
Like we treat them like they are the young people in our church community. They're as much a part of this family as any of you guys, any of you adults.
Yeah, right? That's a really good word. Like our kids should feel like it's their church. Mm-hmm. Like it's great that our kids are we got 5 and 4. Yeah. All those kids feel about like 10, about to have 10 between the two families, that they feel comfortable being in the house of the Lord, right? Like it's a really special thing that they can be there late and get to be there early. And also we get to, as parents, push them towards serving too and finding out what our kids enjoy. Yeah. And like my oldest likes doing the slides, and we've let her, she's only 8, but we've let her sit there and do the worship slides, like push the button to change the lyrics, and she enjoys it. And it feels like fun, or it feels like she's a part of helping daddy or mommy make church go, you know? And so being able to figure out what our kids enjoy and how they want to serve in church is really cool. And I think of Sarah and Paul Moody, who have older kids than us, and they're teenagers. Their older ones are teenagers. And that when they leave, it's not just that Paul and Sarah are leaving, but I'm feeling the weight of her teenage sons leaving. Yeah. Like they're so helpful.
Just leave them behind. Leave them behind. We'll send them up for winter break and stuff.
Right. Yeah. We'll board them here somewhere. But yeah, just to see kids getting to serve in a church and finding ownership is really cool.
You know what's been cool too? I pray that this would happen, but our kids have been more excited about the instruments. Yeah. And I'm like, go drum, go like.
Are we going to have a youth band pretty quick?
Well, the way that everybody, that our band is going, worship is, we might need a regular one.
That's true.
Just to give people some relief, you know?
Yeah, that would be great though, right? Like have Kaoli on the drums and.
She really likes the drums.
You should, you guys should teach her to play the cajon.
Well, I don't know how to play instruments, but yeah. Okay.
I don't either. We're just delegators.
Cool, but it's cool to see like what the interest that our kids have. We can tell them like, hey, listen, serving at the church doesn't just mean working for a church. It doesn't just mean being a pastor or speaking up on Sunday or doing all the things that you're doing, right? Serving in the church is using whatever gifts God's given you, and finding opportunity, right? Wherever opportunities there are to serve, find those two things, and you can glorify God that way, you know?
Yeah, I think having your family on mission with you, right? Like having it not just be mommy's job or daddy's job, or even with Josh in his day-to-day job. He's a strength coach at UH, making sure that our
he has a day job.
He's got a day job. He's really good at his job too, and he's a coach. And so, feeling that our kids are on mission with whatever work their parents are doing is really valuable. Like feeling that they're not being put aside so that daddy can go to work, but that daddy gets to go do this really cool job. We get to visit him sometimes, you know, and go see what his teams are doing and help him coach or whatever it is. But our kids feel like they're on mission with us in our workplace, and that creates such better atmosphere at home, that we feel called to the same mission. The kids feel called to the same mission as their parents. And that's something we're trying to navigate. And I think our kids have really enjoyed being at our church. I think it's been really fun to see our kids enjoy church. And part of it is because you guys are there. So thank you.
No, thank you guys.
They have their built-in best friend there already.
I just try not to take my kids to like other churches where
they're like, gosh, they have cool toys. Gosh, they got a playground.
Yeah, they got a playground. But look what we got. We got a nursery.
Come on.
Yeah, it's nice.
A 10 by 10 nursery.
Yeah, we got a 10 by 10 nursery. No, that's good. What are you, we're coming up on our 1 year. What are you looking forward to just this? Well, yeah, what are you looking forward to in this next year? Because I feel like we hit the red. We were meeting at a small conference room for a long time, for the first 6 months, 7 months. And then we transitioned quickly into a full-on renovation, and we just been there. We're finally starting to get kind of our feet under us in this thing, and we're already at year 1.
I know, that's crazy.
Yeah. So what are you looking forward to year 2?
That's a great question. I'm excited for more cakey stuff, more kids classes. Right now, our elementary kids sit in worship, which has also been great.
Yeah, it's been great.
It's like we're in that season and our kids have enjoyed it. But I think one of the biggest benefits of us getting an elementary class is that we're going to free up chairs for more people to come because we have a lot of kids. And so I think getting them an elementary class is exciting for me. I was an elementary teacher, and maybe that's why I'm excited for it. It's because I'm excited to teach class. And then also I'm hoping to do more stuff throughout the week using our classroom that we're going to get to serve those elementary kids, maybe a club or something that they can go to, that we can do like a good news club or something like that, or meet with the moms and do Bible study, something like that. So I'm excited for kid stuff. Yeah. But I'm also having a baby in about a month and a half. So
yes, no, I mean yes, but don't. I forgot.
Oh, right.
I forgot about it.
I don't know. We'll see what I say in October. I'm like, I'm over it. I can't do any of this.
Oh man, don't say that.
I won't say it.
No,
I won't say that.
You do whatever you need to do to come back. Yeah,
I won't say that.
I think you're right. I am looking for. I'm looking forward to being able to do, because Sunday morning is the most important thing that we do as a church. Right. God sustained his people for many, 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 many generations through a Sunday morning gathering weekly. However, I am excited about the opportunities we get, especially missionally for our community and to serve our church during the week.
Yeah.
For more things to happen that isn't just Sunday morning.
Yeah. And
Sunday morning's a lot.
We just haven't had the capacity to do that. And we'll see if we even have the capacity in year 2 to do that now that both of our families just had a baby.
Yeah.
We'll see. But I think that'll be exciting to grow more throughout the week and do more for the community, like you said.
Yeah.
Be cool.
I'm praying for more people and we have just great people, but everybody's doing so much at our church as a church plant. So if there's anybody out there that would like to join a church or is looking to hear the gospel, or you're not plugged into somewhere, if you're plugged in, stay there, be faithful. But if you're not, man, we want to do a lot of things. We want to do a lot more. We want to bless the community. We want to engage more unbelievers. And so all those things we're excited about, we do need help. So.
We're not just using you. But like we said earlier, I think people are missing out on so much more of Jesus by only going to church on Sundays. And that's not like a legalistic thing to say, like you have to go to church on Sunday and then you also have to do this, this, and this. They're just missing so much more of community and fulfillment by just sitting and hiding in a chair and leaving fast. You're missing so much of what gospel community is like if you're serving on a Sunday, getting plugged in to a community group and meeting friendships and, growing closer to the Lord through the people that you're worshiping with. It's so much more beneficial than just an hour on Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
And so if you're looking for that, we are looking for you.
Yeah, that's true. We are looking for you.
Come.
But if you're at another church, if you're somewhere else at another church, continue to be faithful there. And we'll pray for you guys as you're faithful there. But if you're not plugged in anywhere, no, it really is true that like the more you give, the more you receive, right? Like when Jesus says it's more blessed to give than to receive. Mm-hmm. I think that's one big lesson that our families are learning. Because like you said, even when we were at another church in town, we were giving, but not to this extent, not to this level, right? And at the same time, God has provided energy. And at the same time, while we've had difficulty and it's been hard at times, we've been trying to figure it out. At the same time, we've received so much blessing from giving and serving and connecting people, seeing people come to know Jesus and get baptized and grow in their faith and grow in their ministries and just walk closer with the Lord. Like the cool thing about being in the church is you are on the front lines of seeing that happen. Yeah. Which has been amazing. It's not like you just hear a story and go, oh wow, they gave their life to Jesus. No, you've heard it from the beginning, right? Mm-hmm. You were there the first time they came, like you were there the first time and now they were doubtful and now they're doing this. Now they're following Jesus. I think that is something too that I look forward to, seeing more of people go from death to life.
Yeah, that's exciting. I'll pray for that. Yeah. We want that in our church.
Yeah, and for our kids.
And for our kids. We have so many disciples that are already in our church. Yeah.
So many that need discipling. But this is good. I appreciate it. Kelly's on staff with us and just really good. And I don't think I could do this. I don't think our church wouldn't be where it is without you. So I appreciate everything that you do.
Christian.
Yeah, everything that
I've enjoyed it.
Awesome. Thank you for jumping on.
Yay!
Appreciate it. We got the first one out. We're going to keep doing this.
Yeah, we will.
Let's go.